All right. So, welcome to the Nomad Reader, Lecture Nomade, for those who follow me in French. So, I decided to switch back in English and go back to my previous channel, which was Stillman. But I don't know if I'm going to be posting this. Anyways, today I'm going to be talking about a book that I read this year. So, it's Troubled by Rob Anderson. It's a memoir of his, like he says in the cover page, a memoir of foster care, family, and social class. Um, Robert Anderson is somebody that I discovered in the podcast world. I saw him like being interviewed by multiple people. Uh, from my understanding, he's a social psychologist. Um, so yeah, he talk about like that, like multiple issues, subject, uh, society, evolutionary psychology, a bunch of them. So yeah, I was interested in reading his memoir because I think he's somebody interesting, and yeah, I guess like I wanted to know more about his upbringing, and I was really surprised because sometimes like you look at people and you have an idea of what their upbringing was, but for his I was totally wrong, and I'm pretty sure I was not the only one. So yeah, it was really an interesting book. So um, like he covers like multiple subject like throughout like his memoir, while detailing his life. So as the cover says, foster care. So foster care because he he moved from home to home. He was being fostered, and he had like some interesting experience, to say the least. Uh, really, yeah, you can say like tragic in a way. Family. So we talk about like I guess like the importance of family in a way, like how it can really impact one's life, and social class. That's something that he talks. But yeah, you can see again like throughout the book, because he was really like in a, you could say like in a poor, yeah, not necessarily like middle class, but like a bit below that. It was definitely like not wealthy, and where he was not like a little town, stuff like that. So like he starts by saying that like all of his full name, each name in it is coming from somebody who he lost, basically, who abandoned him. Yeah, that's the word that he used. So yeah, there was his biological father, his mother, and his adoptive father. Well, actually, former adoptive father, because he left as well. And he said like, yeah, it's something that like impacted him. He talks about like the impact of reading, you know, because like in his little town, uh, or like at his school, like he was one of the people who was read. He was like the only people who was reading like for fun. Um, like it's something that I like he, simply picked up eventually, and he was reading and reading like some autobiography, or like novels, stuff like that. And it's something that you could say like really fostered his interesting in learning, and like in a way you could say like it's something that helped him like to eventually go to university despite all of the noise that was in his life. uh, like he also went to like the military school, which was like an interesting arc, because like like he didn't have like much discipline when he was a kid, and he talks about like all the importance of discipline, in like the development of a person, right? Um, and like it's also something like that. Yeah, that was tough on him, like, but like it's something that he liked. Like he was able like to advance a lot in the hierarchy of like the military, and he even decided like to stay longer than he should. Then he went on like to university, and like once again like he really saw like the difference in social class. I think often like we don't talk much about social class. We nowadays like we'll use like different factor to identify like how people like struggle in life and all. Social class is not something that we talk much about here. I feel, but I think it's definitely like relevant. So some people they like where you went because you went. Like I know he went to Cambridge. There was also like other university. I think he went. Yeah, I think there was Harvard too, if I'm correct. So yeah, he talks about that, like how it's something that like there was not necessarily like some clash, but he really saw like the difference in how people were acting or were viewing the world, stuff like that. So these are multiple things that like he talks about the book. Like I don't necessarily want to like to state everything, but if there's one lesson that I could take from this book, I guess the first one would be like I think I have like more interest in memoir, autobiography, biography. You know, I think it's interesting like to see how people simply grew up and like how it shaped their view of the world. So I think that's one interesting part. And the other part is like a term that he like you could say like invented, which is luxury belief. So luxury belief is a term that, as you say, that confers status on the upper class, and at the same time inflict costs on the lower class. Okay, so the belief of that the lower class, no, the upper class has, is not necessarily like limited to them. You also like some people who are not in the upper class can have them, but essentially that's the really like broad definition. So you give the example of I think the most popular example that people like we all heard at some point is Steve Jobs. So you know Steve Jobs is the guy that like is behind Mac, the iPhone, iPad, all that stuff, and you would think that it's something that he would allow his children to use, but apparently not. He was not letting them use them because most likely he saw the impact of it, but he was still like behind the company, selling this. So it's paradoxical. So that once as I said, like the definition is really like, it conveys status on the upper class and it influences costs on the lower class. So you could say like us, no, not necessarily the lower class, but most people we have a phone and all, and we see the negative impact of it. But the inventor, like he like he was able like to gain notoriety through selling this, obviously some money. Uh, so like he was able to elevate his status. Steve's job is known for that. The company Apple and all, right? So that's one example. Another interesting example is like family structures in marriage. So he says like even in the book, like he give the example of a girl who's it's like upper class. He asked her like they talk about marriage eventually, and not that he was dating her, but that's not necessarily important. Uh, he asked her like what are her thoughts on marriage, and she says that it's something that is old fashioned. It's not something that we need to do or whatsoever. But despite that, uh, when he asked her, okay, are you gonna get married? Like in your like personal life and all, and she said, oh yeah, 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 I want to be married. I want to be like in a monogamous relationship and all that stuff. And you would think that like her views of the world would match with how she live her life or how she plans to live her life. But no, actually no. She said that no, it's not something that important at all. So once again, like I said, it's when it gives status to the upper class and inflict cost on the lower class. So he talks about like a bit like some studies and all in the book in how like the benefits of marriage and like a stable family structure where like yeah, both parents are there to take care of the children because it's something that is already it takes a lot of energy, to raise children. So when you're by yourself, whether you're a man or a woman, like it's something that takes a toll on you. So having somebody else with you, like it lessen the load. So yeah, like he gives that example, but like quite often nowadays we will hear the opposite. We will hear that, oh, like yeah, the family structure is not something that is necessarily uh, like important. It's old fashioned. Yeah, you can raise kid on your own and all that stuff. And yeah, I think that at the end of the day, life happens, shit happens, uh, and we don't know like everybody's life. So I think like yeah, it would be like easy like to just say, oh yeah, it's you know, try like not to judge, but I think it's interesting still that like in her position, like knowing that like it has benefited her, that she would say that, oh no, it's not necessarily something that people should value, and it's something that can impact people in the lower class or even like middle class as well, right? To just like not get married, because not getting married like it involves like multiple things. You can still have like children if you're not married and all, and yeah, you can say like it can bring some problems. So yeah, yeah, for that like you have to like, go like read a bit of like the detail of the study, but essentially it's that. And another example of the luxury belief is about law enforcement. So in the recent year, we heard a lot about defunding the police, and like I've seen some people like celebrities saying that we should defund the police. Some artists, and most likely these people they are, upper class obviously, and they they will not live in a place where there's gang violence, drugs, all that stuff, right? They will live in a place like in a probably like a huge house in a place where there's a lot of security, uh, and yeah, so like in a way they don't necessarily need the police, right? But they will say that it doesn't. It's not necessarily like to have the police. So in them like they're not impacted to that, but when they say it, as all of the other example that I give, when they say it, like it makes it like it sounds good, like it's something that like will appeal to probably like most people in a way, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, it's true, we don't need that, we're like yeah, we're probably like more knowledgeable than people from the past, and now we know better, right? um, so yeah, like they say that, but like people who will be like in an environment where there's more violence, there's more danger, there's less security, they will not necessarily be um, up for that. They probably like will disagree. um, but it's true that because I heard some people who were not that were not necessarily upper class who still had that belief. So like you said, right? it's not the luxury belief is not limited to the upper class people, but when the upper class people uh, like give more wind, perhaps, like to these to these views, like it's something that like goes to the masses, and like they adopt, they can adopt these views. So yeah, and I would also add like something that I think he talks in the book, or I heard that in an interview, about status. So status nowadays, it's something that is, um, you could say, harder to perceive. Back in the day, well, back in the days, let's say perhaps like 100 years ago, like just the clothes, it was harder to produce. We People didn't have like that many clothes, especially in the Western world, right? Um, but not only. So it was easier to see, to perceive the status of a person just by their clothes. And yeah, so like there was, you could say, like there was not the need to say, oh yeah, I'm rich. Like you just had like to show it, and most likely like it matched the reality. But nowadays, you can easily have like a suit, if you're a middle class, lower class person, like easily you can even like buy it with your credit card, all that stuff. So in terms of like the way that we are perceived visually, we don't, it's harder like to see status. It's harder to see status. So and there's even like the example in, I think in the Titanic, with Jack. uh, I think like like the mother of Rose, or like other people like in the boat, like they were able like to see that he was not upper class, that he was somebody from the lower class, uh, by perhaps like his accent, the way that he was speaking, or the way that he was holding like his the utensils while eating. I think, yeah. So, but nowadays, well, at least I, for that, I'm not sure for that specific example, but I think that most people would not necessarily be able like to perceive somebody like from that, because you can grow to the upper class, by, I guess, like getting rich in some type of way, and still have like bad manners. But anyways, that was the book. I think it was really interesting. I'm probably going to be talking more about other books, well, memoir, I mean. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that it gives you some type of interest in the book. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.